Good evening and welcome to the April 9th meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. We will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the board started at 6:15 this evening with a non-public with the CALEA representatives, and at 6:45 we had another non-public to discuss a tax deed, and that leads us to first on the agenda, public comment.
You won't see me next week.
What, are you going away?
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did see that Article 27 was addressed at the end of your meeting. I appreciate that this is advisory, and I appreciate that you're going to put it on cable. But our experience is that we don't get anybody that way. And since this particular article speaks to having a combination of people, it's very specific groups, I really think that in order to make it work, there needs to be outreach for it. One person from your board, business people, you need to call them up face to face. And then the social and the service organizations, and we have a lot. We really do. I've written down some of them. And then the demographics, which then would include young, old, male, female, people with children, without children. And I think there needs to be outreach. However you do that, whether Naomi is charged with making an attempt, I sincerely hope that Mike Sullivan will be contacted. I know that he's interested and he has some experience in this area as well. And I would be glad to volunteer as your first volunteer. Okay. If it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I'll give this to Naomi,
Yep.
just sort of a little
That's fine.
outline to
Mm-hmm.
organize it.
Colleen?
Thank you. See you next week.
Say what? No, we'll see you next week. Never know the week after.
Oh, now we're paying her?
She gets paid to come.
Oh, yeah. I'll be here next week. No.
Oh, wow. Holy
Easily persuaded.
Thank you, good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. Frank Campana. As a result of some discussion at last week's meeting, you've done away with the second public comment, which I thought was, great that you reinstated the first public first, but as, things develop during a meeting that maybe the second public comment might be advisable. But in any event, just would have gotten it out of the way. Last week, when the road agent was here, when Mr. Knapp was here, he discussed some of the road issues, and in some detail. But I think that was probably the second time that I've heard that discussion, probably within 3 meetings. Again, very, very briefly, it was touched upon. So I thought my comment would be, at some point in time, it would be nice for the selectmen to ask, and it may be somewhat premature, but the board did receive, bonus amount of money from the state, $235, I think, $1,000 last year for road reconstruction, and could be used for purchase of equipment too. So it would be nice to keep that at the forefront, when it's appropriate. We've had a few weeks. I'm sure Benji has a pretty good handle on, at least from his description last week, what roads he might like to do, but, where's the funding coming from? strictly, road bond money or this extra money. So it would just be nice to hear, what's going to happen to that money. And only as a suggestion, probably won't go far, and it's been suggested before, as that money can be authorized to purchase equipment, might be a consideration to, if the trucks are still in that bad a condition, not if, but, it might be worth it to purchase another truck. It doesn't, $235,000 for a truck. It's going to come in a little bit less than that, but do you put it for a truck? Do you put it for roads? Kind of a catch-22. If you put it to roads, then you're getting caught up on some roads, so you don't have to spend a lot of money for repairing that specific project. But by the same token, if you buy another truck, you're not charging me cost for maintenance, for a truck that's on its last leg probably. So that's a consideration, but in the future for that money. See what happens. I mean, personally, I'd rather see a truck, even though it's not winter time. You still got, maintenance of a vehicle that's, susceptible to breakdown. So you'd save a little bit on maintenance. But again, it's a catch-22. I understand. Do you repair a road that's falling apart and don't have to maintain it as much, or do you buy a truck? And that's all I have. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Frank.
Good evening. My name is Gary Cody. I live at 25 Waterman Road. This is the, I'm on the agenda tonight on if you see something, say something. We went through a horrible ordeal yesterday down on Waterman Road. We had a neighbor that really seriously scared us all. He came down. We had just gotten back from vacation on Easter Sunday from the Midwest. We came back and we found this abandoned, junky old truck parked on the left side of our property. I have a fence, a stockade fence that runs on Waterman Road to keep my grandkids from going out to the road. Called Weare Police, and they found out that it was at 10 Waterman Road's truck. They must have talked to him, and on Sunday he took a boat down and parked it in front of the fence in front of our house, climbed into the boat and started yelling all kinds of crazy obscenities, saying he was in a cult. And he was going to start hanging dead animals and stuff from the trees in the neighborhood. Again, we called Weare Police. They came down, and they tried to do their best they could under the circumstances. And then he drove another junk vehicle, and parked it down in front of our house. They tried to stop him from doing this, but he just says that he has the right to do whatever he wants down there. Later on, after the police had got him back on his property, he came back with a ladder, climbed up on the tree in front of this tree sits on the road, climbed up on the tree and strung a plastic orange construction fencing. And again, on the ladder, he's yelling at me and my wife and the neighbors across the street that it's a special holiday that he is celebrating, and this is how he celebrates it. And it just made no sense. We're all pretty well
Chip took those pictures today.
petrified of what the situation is with all the unrest in the world today and stuff. We understand this individual has guns. I mean, the police their hands are kind of tied. Chip Meaning has been supportive today with it. He took all kinds of pictures and stuff
They're coming down your way.
to see if they could clear some of this stuff out of the road. And it's just a horrible situation. We're kind of looking for help. I was here back in July to ask for help about the situation down on I've got pictures of what it looks like in front of my home right now, and the road that we come down. I mean, it's turning out to be like a junkyard in a battle zone. It's horrible. And this individual now, we feel, is really, we don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if you could talk to the chief of police and maybe help Chip Meany. We don't know what to do.
Have you spoken to the police at all, sir?
Yes, we've had them several times, and they have taken pictures, and they gave it to Chip Meany, and
house right there.
they don't know what to do about the vehicles, or they don't know what to do about him.
He's on 10 Waterman, right?
He's at 10, right as you come in on the town maintained part.
On the right.
On
First
the
house on the right?
first house on the right, yeah, the old Waterman property,
Facing that way.
yep.
Yeah, Chip took those this afternoon and brought them
Oh,
up for me, because
okay,
knowing you were
yeah.
coming in. he
Oh,
said,
okay,
yeah.
all right, yeah, he called me late, and I've got pictures, but he's got pictures. Once again, thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't know how to prepare tonight, so.
Well, you did just fine.
Okay, thank you.
Fine.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir.
You too.
Yeah.
Is there anything like,
First question I'd have, how, is that's on the town-owned part of Waterman Road?
It's my understanding it is.
How much is right away is he packing that on town property?
Sounds like it.
Well, we got the
See, I'm not sure where those were taken.
road agent. Hey.
That's the road agent.
Wow.
Wow, I see by that smile.
Put you right on the spot.
Yeah,
Well,
so that's another one of those roads in town that town should have never maintained, and we did it long enough now that we own the responsibilities to maintain it.
Right.
I don't believe the town owns any right of way on it, but, I mean, the narrowest right of way that we're allowed to maintain in town is 33 feet, so I guess we could go by that.
town never adopted
I don't
that
think the
road.
town actually owns it, really only the roads we own in town are subdivisions, 50 foot, but aside from
The
that,
town
we got,
maintained road.
it is now.
Highway.
It is as far as that big culvert there. Turn around, it was a Colburn's there, right? Yeah. Same place you always turned around there, so. I don't know of any right of way we have less than 2 rods, which is
So
33
these
feet.
people are in beyond the town,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But the mess isn't though, right?
No.
So they kinda
Well, the mess
stayed
is in
out of the
front
stuff.
of, the mess is in front of his house. It got moved down there.
That-
Right,
That was a private driveway out to Waterman's house, the first house on the right. And that was never plowed, ever. That was privately owned for years.
right,
And that, they must have given right away down in there to those camps
I'm sure.
that were put in years
Yeah.
ago. That was never plowed ever in the winter months.
I know it's
Over
narrow.
town.
I know there's been times we've had to ask to have things scooted back a little, and the PD gets that done for us so we can plow. I haven't been involved too much in this situation. I know it's a mess. I don't have any more answers than that, I guess.
Well, I think there's, the registration on one of them is expired in 15.
Well,
Other vehicles.
I mean,
In the
does the
vote.
board want to seek legal counsel advice?
But the police can
Is
ask
it or is
him,
it more of a
No,
setback?
it's,
can't the police ask him to move the vehicles out
yeah,
of the
but
road,
it's not,
period?
it's not, you're looking at by a lot of town, a public way, and they may be limited. If it's just a private right of way, they may not be able to have the authority. It's a fine line on
Correct.
that.
It's gonna be private. I'm not plowing.
Yeah,
That's the argument.
I plowed
It's
that.
town
I
maintained.
plowed that back in the 80s when Wolf was road agents. I mean, we maintained it for 30
long
years.
time,
about it.
yeah.
Well, I myself think we should look into legal counsel on that
And I
thing.
think, yeah,
Just because of the
Before we
discrepancies
make-
that we're having here with the questionable of where we are at with the road, other than we plow it,
We may
maintain
end
it.
up have a surveyor out there and find out exactly what we're doing.
And that might be what it
If
comes
of
down
any-
to,
of any.
unfortunately.
I mean, it's something
So-
that's never been adopted.
Right.
Your police experience here, there's nothing that can be done?
Well, you have to determine whether or not it's a
Same
public
issue.
road.
They had to go around last year.
Yeah,
But if he's threatening the neighbors, then
That's
we should be able to
different.
set in,
That's
to
some-
step in.
then you can do something, but you have to have somebody step up and sign a complaint.
Right.
If nobody wants to sign the complaint, there's not much you can do unless it takes place in your presence.
Right.
That's the law.
So you want, I mean,
It's like legal stuff.
you wanna look into legal as to.
As far as where we can go with the vehicles in the front of the fence. I mean, that's, I think, unfortunately, I think that's where the town responsibility
And if
stops.
Chip's doing something with it, I'd see
Right.
if he's contacted the attorney that
Right.
he uses there, Attorney Drescher, that does the
Mhm.
land use stuff.
Right, and I think that would be the right route on that.
Well, is he disturbing the peace or anything with his?
Again, I think that's what
you
Jack
know,
was just
I mean,
saying.
Yeah, unless the police witness it, or unless it raises to the level of felony, they can't turn around and
Right.
arrest somebody or take any action unless somebody signs a complaint.
Right, so that's where that would come in.
I mean,
And I think that we had a discussion with Mr. Cody on that
Before?
last year, that he had to sign a complaint, he'd have to sign a complaint.
So, but I think we need to figure out
I
about
think we
the
need to do
vehicles.
something to at least protect ourselves too, because,
Well,
From good weather, there's gonna be a lot of traffic.
Well, I
going
think,
through there.
I think the thing is contacting legal counsel first, because if we take some type of action and we're wrong, we're not protecting.
Then we're
right,
not-
right, no,
that's
I
what- that's-
agree,
that's-
yeah.
Right, so,
I mean, obviously, this gentleman here is pretty upset,
no, I don't blame him.
and I don't blame him either, but
No,
no.
who's to know that he's not gonna do something even different
Well, right,
and harm somebody?
all right.
Okay.
Department head committee items. Chief?
No, they're here for the purchasing policy
Oh, even
discussion.
better.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe,
but
well, I know,
He wanted to
he was
go
ready to
home.
jump. He was ready to jump,
I also have,
yeah.
Sorry.
I know that part of that is talking about disposal of assets, but I have a couple of disposal of asset questions. I could save them, or we could do them now.
you're there.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, you're a fit.
Under the current policy.
In the past couple of years, we replaced our SCBA and the extrication tools. And so we have the old equipment that's functionally obsolete as far as the fire service is concerned. And so our disposal options are the state auction. We had discussed a while back using the website, I think it's called govdeals.com or something to that effect. And the other one that I wanted to talk about briefly is whether the board was interested if we were to seek donation possibilities where they bundle this equipment up and they ship it off to some foreign country to be used by their people. There is a market for that. I think certainly the SCBA kind of fall into that where I don't think we'll find much of a market in the US for that stuff, but we may find something. There's really no financial advantage, or we wouldn't see any money come back from that. Really, it would just be a donation, and then whatever, I don't know if there's a tax piece to it, to our advantage, or we just feel good about it.
I mean, some things probably have more monetary value than others after their service life here. I would think myself, air packs would not be one of them to have in this area, but,
In the country, no.
right,
Yeah.
but maybe the, like, ladders would be, because somebody else could use them, or.
Sure.
Or,
Yep.
you know, the first tools, maybe even, you know, junkyard want to pull things apart, I don't know. There might be some monetary value there, but I think an air pack, definitely not, you know, so. What's the board's feelings on that?
What was Jaws of Life, you said doesn't meet any of the state requirements anymore?
Well, the Jaws of Life are technology that the evolution of the automobile has surpassed the effectiveness of that tool. And so we needed to replace it because we were running into cars that we couldn't cut or spread with the tools that we had. If a department had no extrication tools, there's certainly something to get started with. But it's very hard to find someone that's interested in that particular unit that we have. I had discussions with a vendor in New England that thought he could use those as a like a loaner set. If their unit had to go into for service, that he could use those as a loaner, and was willing to give some money or a store credit, if you will, towards purchasing those from us. That's kind of fell apart in the last week. I think there's still an opportunity for that to take place, but it isn't as immediate as I thought it would be. The SCBA, I think we could send it to the state auction, but I think we're gonna go back and pick them up, and no one seems to want those, so.
You know, I know there's been a lot of equipment from government agencies that's gone, third world countries that didn't have that, so sometimes there's a monetary attachment to that whoever's got some of it back, but if not, I think if it's gonna work for somebody that's in need, donate it if you don't think it's gonna get anything from.
And I'm more than willing to seek that out and come back and report.
I mean, anything
Before
else
we
that
do
you think
something
we can
with
get money from, okay,
Oh, sure, yeah.
definitely.
All right. I'll wait for the rest.
Anything? All right. Well, without further ado, the purchasing policy discussion.
Now, I gave you both the old and the new, just because Sherry hadn't had both. The 2008 one, and then the few changes you made in the 2017 one, which basically, I think we talked about the purchasing of 1,001. You had 3 written or verbal on page 3 of 9 under section 8B1. We made that change for $1,001 to 25. You asked for, it used to say quotes, now you asked for written or verbal. You couldn't just call, you needed them. And then the last page, we circled around the, which is what Chief Vizina talked about, was disposal. We upped it, it used to be,
250, wasn't it? Or
it's
200?
100, and now it's 200. It was 100 on the last page, and now we've moved it to 200. Those are really the 2 big items we talked about, and then we get into a discussion of, is $1,000 correct, or is $1,000 not correct, or, you know, there was some feelings on the board, at that time.
What page is the 1,000 on, Naomi? I've seen it, I just
Oh,
can't.
page 3 of, it says 3 of 8,
okay, I
yeah.
found it.
You know, you recall the discussion that we kind of eliminated 2 sections. If you look at the 2008, you used to have like different tiers. You used to have a B1 and a B2. Now you have a B1 because you lumped it into $1,001 to 5,000, stating that you have to obtain at least 3 written quotes. It used to say written or verbal. Now it says written. So we cut out the 2 different layers. Because the old one was 1,001 to 25 with verbal and or written, or verbal or written, I think. And now there's just 1. That was the change that was made in the October 30th of 17. But then we never signed it. We kind of got into budget season and let it ride. So you have 2 department heads here that are interested to know what you want to do.
I, for one, was a proponent of keeping, after we made the changes, of keeping it at the numbers that they were. I think that in section 11, under the emergency purchases, as we've discussed with the DPW director before, is we had a truck that was going down, we had a storm inbound, and he called 3 vendors. One said, I can't touch for 2 weeks. One said, maybe next month. And one said, why isn't it here yet? So at that point, I think that you know, that emergency purchase or expenditure was, fell under that, because obviously we had to have the truck on the road. So I think that was, you know, the way, I don't wanna say that that's a norm, but that would, to me, fall right under that as clear as day. I think that we are the, you know, I don't say we hold the checkbook, but I think that we need to, you know, monitor these items. And I'm not saying that, I've never said that we need to have, if it's over $1,000, get the 3 quotes and come to us every time. I think it's, you know, you get your 3 best quotes. If they're likewise items, attach the 3 quotes to the purchase and send it along.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of where we should be, is being the financial,
Right.
you know, we're being responsible. I understand that, you know, being on the truck side, I understand that, you know, $1,000 is eaten up like that. But unfortunately, on another department head side, $1,000 could go a real long way. So, or $2,500, say, if we up it to a $2,500 number, that could go a long way. And that's my own feelings. What's the rest of the board feel?
I agree with you, Ricky.
I'd like to add on section 8, the first, section 8, purchase up to $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'd leave it all there, other than where the period is. I personally would like to see a comma, and however, equipment and vehicle repairs shall be $2,000. That way there, everything other than the chief, the 3 big departments, they could have up to $2,000, which I know will help these 2 departments. Keep everything else at 1,000. Vehicle and equipment repairs, they can go with a 2,000. Basically do what they want, as long as it's within their budget. Just throw it out there.
What'd you say? However, what?
I just throw it out there for
Yeah, but what did you, what, I was writing it down.
2,000
$2,000.
for equipment and vehicle maintenance only.
What about items that you use like regular, like, say, tires, when you go to put new tires on a dump truck? What's that cost?
At that point, you use the state.
No.
No, well, that's right, no, we don't.
This is where I had an issue with the policy, I guess, because I went to find the state bid tires, and A, they're very expensive, not a good deal at all, and B, they're not a tire that you'd want to run on a plow truck. So I found them, I don't remember, $127 a piece less than state bid.
And where
So
those
I
come
bought them from Mr. G's.
Okay.
There's certain vendors like that, and for instance, my cutting edges, you always keep your feelers out. Someone's got a better deal, but
Or a better product. I remember we
Right.
talked about that, the product quality.
but to have to go out every time, like I said before, when I was up here, I don't know, 6 months ago, the 3 boards that I've worked with since I've had this position have been very good. I just want that written so that when eventually someone does get up there that has a personal agenda for me or one of the chiefs or something, it's not written so that we can get in a jam for just trying to do our best at our job. You know, I mean, always keep your feelers out for tires, but Tim even tried to go elsewhere and found out there's nobody that can beat Mr. G's price or service. They drop them off, they pick them up, when they have a spare 22.5 rim that, cause someone put all aluminum buds on their landscape truck, they set them aside and we get them for $100, you know, cause they know highway always needs wheels, cause they always break them. I mean, things like that are not in a set of specs, you know, it's just something that's, you try to stick
A way
with
of
it in
business,
there.
yeah.
Right, exactly, so.
So what does 4 tires cost you? Or 6 tires, whatever, when you put them on a dump truck, you got what, 8, you got 10 wheelers there.
Yeah, the tires are $320 a piece for drive tires, $450 for a steer tire.
So you're talking over $3,000 to put 'em
Yeah,
on.
I think I just put ice tires on one of the 10-wheelers, and
Yeah, we
I think it
can
was
do-
like $2,600 for tires. You know, and that's just tire. If you buy it from them too, they don't charge you for mounting, where state bid tires they do. You know.
That's all laid out individually.
Right. Well,
Right.
they don't make any money on state bids, so you got to charge you for something. So they
Right.
charge you for mounting. But anyway, I just want it written so that it doesn't set us up to
get in trouble in the future.
Right, and
so.
that, and Sherry brings up a good point. It's not just tires for him. He's got a lot of big tires.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
could it be listed in here, tires, whatever you need, you know,
I don't
wear
know
items?
the answer, I guess. I'm not
Could
very
it
good.
actually be set in here, you know, to, you know, the exception of tires, cutting edges, whatever, the wear items that you guys need to replace on a regular basis?
But I think it'd be limited to other repairs, like a motor job or a transmission job, things like that, that's repairs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You don't wanna narrow it down so that they still can't go after the other stuff that they need,
Right,
you know?
right.
That's why I said equipment, vehicle repairs, that takes in the whole vehicle.
So tires would fall
Yeah.
under that?
Yes.
Oh, all right. So it'd be up to 2,000.
I mean, even 2,000, I mean.
That's probably
Ten
not
tires
enough
isn't
either.
gonna-
Transmission's
Yeah.
what, 15 grand?
10 tires
Yeah.
isn't gonna do it
Well, no,
20
obviously there's,
You
Well,
gotta
you
get
ways
gotta
tires.
around that
all
too,
10
so.
tires at
at
once.
once.
but, I mean, I guess if we have an understanding with one or two vendors, I would like to think that it's all right to go buy a fleet of tires if that's,
Yeah.
otherwise we just buy them $2,000 a time.
Which is kinda,
But the emergency repair I had to make T4, that was a perfect example. As long as it's written, so I get it done, I come tell you folks, listen, this is what I got. It's already at the shop. I'm sorry I didn't call you on Sunday before the meeting, but this, I did do what I'm supposed to. But it's already being fixed.
I think
Not
you're
that
perfect.
you don't have a
You're
problem
perfectly in the
with it.
lines. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
perfectly in the lines right there with that. You know,
You're in the line, yeah.
absolutely. Now, if it was
Because it's hard to go get three quotes on something like that. Like
Oh,
I
no,
said, the
absolutely.
truck was dead, you had to pay to tow it there, so you're gonna pay to
Pay to tow it
diagnose it,
once,
and pay to
right.
tow it 3 more, that's just not feasible.
No, no.
Just want it written so we can do that. You know,
No,
if you're
I-
gonna go buy it, you know, another paint striping machine, of course, you know, check out 3 of them, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that.
Right. All right, I think, and like I said, I think that you know, I've never had a single issue with a, you know, emergency purchase that you've made
No.
ever. And
I haven't
'cause
had any problem with anyone, I just wanna make sure
No.
we don't in the future, because this
Right.
is gonna be a long-term thing that you
Right.
guys
Right.
Chief, are you happy?
I'm never happy.
No, I was just gonna say, don't ever ask that question. That's why he's here.
Yeah.
So a couple of the, I think as long as there's that, I kind of looked at it, we've talked a lot about this, as those 3 categories. There's the routine, we need to go buy something that costs more than $1,000. Is it 1,000 or 2,500? I heard you throw
It's
2,500.
It's
$1,000.
1,000.
And then there's the, I need something urgently, and then there's the kind of that emergency. Snowplow is the best example, is snowplow's broken, we gotta fix it for the next storm. And so one of the, and I'm gonna use the tanker as a good example of, we need to have a front oil seal on that truck. That was, we talked to the town mechanic. It wasn't really something that he wanted to get into. So we went to our next best thing, is we had it taken to, is it Yankee now, or Kenworth, or whomever it is. So the truck went out of town. We paid to have it estimated. It was over $1,000. So now it comes back because we need to shop that around. And it's not overly efficient to do that. We may find out that the actual repair might be less at a different spot, but when you start factoring in, I paid for an estimate, I might have paid a driver to take the truck there to get the estimate, now I gotta pay a driver to take it someplace else. It makes it a little cumbersome. I totally get, at some point, we need to get written quotes for certain things. I'm not looking to carve out something special for the vehicles, but that's a really good example of something that's not overly expensive, but is just kind of languished. And then once we kind of get an estimate from one shop, then we can shop that around to other shops, so it makes it a little bit easier. Even if you know, your third one that you called probably isn't going to get that job, so I think eventually they're gonna stop giving a quote. I don't know what the best, that's why you guys get paid the big money to make that decision. But that one really kind of fell into, that was a less than $2,000 repair. That's really kind of chewed up a lot of time on my end, and in the logistics of getting that vehicle to places to get it fixed or looked at or what have you. So, my operation, most of it is routine purchases. We know ahead of time that we want something, so we can quote it, or it's an outright emergency, and such as this weekend.
Right, okay.
That's my 2 cents on that.
So we've had a suggestion for alteration on that section 8. What's the board's feelings?
I agree with John.
I agree with John.
I for one do not. That's why we are board of 5. So it was budget, annual adopted budget, with the exception of $2,000 for vehicle repair and equipment vehicle repairs.
Okay.
You figure at the time, just as a piece of emergency equipment, to get it out of service, running it here, there, and everywhere, how much, how much of a cost is that by the time you add it up? When you're paying estimates every place you go, that gets a little,
Well, it's not like you could run up the street valley.
yeah.
It's made it a little more challenging.
Anybody have any other suggestions? Any other sections?
Ricky, the surplus,
Yes, that
which
was.
is 13, last page, talks about disposal.
Mhm.
I think we've talked about different ways, like the state auction. I think the chief talked about that, trade-in. I guess I'm looking for clarification. So the department head, if they're looking to get rid of surplus, he talked about his, he doesn't have to make a return trip to tell you what he's up to. He could send it in a letter.
Yeah, or an email, or.
Right. I just wanted clarification, because these guys do come back at night. You know what I mean? But if they could just present it and I could give it to you as part of it, they don't have to be present
No.
to be here.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think since 2008, I think we've come a long ways in technology as far as notification, so I think email will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at that point, it's instant, and if there's a flag by one of the members, then we can call you and go from there. Or if we have a question, we can
Sure.
go to the department head or whoever.
I just want to make that, because I don't want them to have to make a trip just
And we
to
did put
tell you
that
they're
up
gonna
there.
get rid of something somehow.
That number was
sit here
changed
all
to,
night.
what was it again? Was it
200? Yeah, it was 100.
That's right, 'cause you can't sell a wheel there for $100. I remember that
Right.
now.
I talked about $100.
That's the next page.
Or this was the old one. Now it's 200. I mean, I think for the most part, we've kept within this. There's been a couple occasions that, there's questions that have arisen and why we've done certain things. But I think for the most part, they do follow it.
No, I agree.
At the same time, you have the opportunity to, which is waive some of it. I just think sometimes that if, I think you've heard enough from Benji, but that when you have a breakdown to call 3 people when you're sitting beside the road, just to justify an expense.
Right.
When it's snowing and you've got a truck that you're down.
Yeah, I think that falls under the emergency thing. Is
Right.
where can I get it done the fastest at that point?
Right,
You know?
right.
Or
And,
buy
you know what I mean,
some
to
tires.
take the time to call 3 people, even though 2 of them couldn't do it right away, 1 could, that's where he took it. But to physically take the time to take the time out and leave it beside the road while you get 3 people to call,
Yeah.
just to justify the expense, sometimes, you know, time is wasted as well. Especially when it is snowing and you're down 1. I mean, we for the most part, they all stay in touch with me anyway, and if I had a problem, I've always reached out to somebody, knowing that I can't make that decision on my own, but just running it by somebody else so they know that. And it's usually the chair, or I'll throw out an email, but.
Anything else by the board on the bursting policy?
The back page will have to be changed,
Correct.
signature wise.
On, what is it?
It's a second sentence down, or third sentence
What
down,
page are we on?
last page.
Last page.
Yeah.
Various possibilities.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Various possible
Oh.
disposition.
Means are a sealed bid or auction.
Various possible disposition.
Maybe means the sealed bid or auction process, state surplus auction.
Various possible disposition
cross
means
out
are the
the-
sealed bid or auction process, comma, state surplus auction, comma, trade in usage, comma, retained for, or transferred to another department.
Just cross the word R out of it.
R out of it, yeah. Doesn't make sense otherwise.
Well,
Means,
I
yeah.
just think, I think that's how you read it.
It was in the old,
It's like pretty-
Various
Yeah,
possible disposition means are sealed bid or auction
we gotta put a
process.
comma in
Yeah,
there.
the comma, gotta be a comma.
Gotta
It's
come
gotta be
down.
just a comma.
something wrong.
It's not an English major, but it did make sense.
Anything else?
All right, so I'll neaten it up. I'll send it around to you one more time for one last read. And then next Monday you can adopt it if you want.
Works for me.
So did we make
I don't
a
know if we're
motion,
doing for
or
the
are we-
record, but I agreed with what
You
you said
have them,
on the-
when you adopt it, you'll make the motion then.
So this is now.
I wrote,
Probably, or no?
I wrote, it's gonna say, the department head shall have full authority to make departmental purchases of goods or service up to $1,000, which are identified in and do not exceed the department's annual adopted budget, comma, however, not to exceed $2,000 for vehicle and equipment repairs. That's what you said, right? Yeah.
And just for the record, Selectman Snyder and I were opposed to that change. There.
I'm keeping it.
All right, we're at the meeting minutes. We just got 4-2, about a half hour before I came down here, so
Not
We'll-
that fast?
Right.
table that till next week. So we will do 326.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
came right out quick,
Quick, huh?
right up on top, so it says present. For some reason or other, my name's not there. And it isn't on last week's minutes either. I mean,
It's called a template.
I'm talking making motions in here, but I'm not here, so.
You're doing it long distance.
John here,
In absentia.
Yeah.
Johnny here. Sorry, no offense taken.
John was here. Yes.
It was.
I have Jack here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's his name?
That's handy.
John Jack.
yeah,
No, is that it?
yeah, Jack Wyatt Reese.
That's his name? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if she looked at
Video?
the
That's too
video
funny.
where it shows the Pledge of Allegiance.
Anything
It
else on
shows
page
us
one?
run out
And then he
the middle of
walks
the road.
into it because he had to be here for his scouts, so he noticed he wasn't on TV.
I saw that.
Yeah, so, yeah, he likes to be on camera. Yeah, yeah, he gets the biggest kick out of that.
It was so obvious he was
You
looking.
should have turned around and
I'm surprised he didn't.
Are you on page 1?
Yeah, we're on page 1.
He did that once before.
At the end of it,
Yep.
under reappoint to cable committee, last sentence, just remove the word the, most of the work. He is doing most of the work.
Hang on.
At the bottom of the page, all the way to
Oh,
the
yeah.
left.
Had to be on.
Yep, he's doing,
He is doing most of it.
Oh. Oh, am I on the right one?
Mm-hmm.
March, okay.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
all have the wrong date.
Yeah, I said that last week when I
Oh,
gave it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The original ones had I wasn't wasting paper. We heard how much paper you don't get for. I told you that at the end.
Anything else on page 1? Page 2.
I got a couple of things. Third paragraph down, 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences down, signed by the chairman at that committee, should be of.
Of
And then the next paragraph down, the last sentence, town administrator Bolton stated it would be great, but she would be sitting as a resident, not board member, not it.
Sorry, Sherry.
it's all right.
I still missed the first one though. What number? 4th?
third
1, 2, 3, 4th line.
paragraph.
Signed by the chairman of the particular
It says
committee.
whether or not to have the
that-
reappointments come back, if it's
This is how the
reappointment.
board was, would not need to be.
All right, I'm still missing it.
Yeah, I am too.
No, it's the one above it. You're at the wrong paragraph, this one here.
Starts off town administrator Bolton,
By the chairman, at that committee, of that
Yeah.
committee.
All right.
off to the right.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
looking at the.
I was looking at the wrong paragraph saying I couldn't find it. She was too.
I found of, but I thought he was saying there was something else.
No, next paragraph.
Okay, sorry.
Anything else on page 2? Page 3? Page 4?
On the other business,
Yeah,
Other.
yeah.
Sherry Selectman Burdick reported that after listening to Chief Kelly, she has, it should be had,
Good.
Anything else?
Yeah,
No.
down to the third line, he reported they had a total of 20 calls. I think it should be Goffstown Police Chief reported that.
Oh,
Okay.
gee.
For service for 2017 between 3 and 7 a.m. And then she received an email. I don't know if you want to put Selectman Burdick received an email and shared it with the board. And again, in the next sentence, reached out to someone. I reached out to Lieutenant Brian Trask.
No, yeah,
Okay.
he just got promoted.
What is he now?
He's a lieutenant now. He wasn't at the time. He was the staff
Oh, he
sergeant.
told me he was
He was the
lieutenant.
acting troop commander,
Oh, he said he was lieutenant.
What's his name? Brian?
Brian Trask.
Trask.
I have some on that page.
An official notice just came out today.
And Naomi, we talked about getting something in writing that they would cover Weare, remember, after that?
Yeah.
I don't think we have it, it's not in there, but we mentioned it out in the hallway.
Yeah, so, yeah, it wasn't here at the meeting.
And on the next 3 lines up from the bottom, she feels that we should have a workshop to go over all
property maybe,
Properties, yeah.
instead of those, all those.
All those properties.
I just put all properties. I don't wanna get too picky.
Okay,
In the first paragraph, the sixth line down,
Still on
It's-
page,
same page.
Page 4, yep.
okay.
yeah.
Instead of restriction, should be restrictive. Second line up,
Same
From that
paragraph.
same spot?
second line, same paragraph.
Two lines from that,
With 5 minutes per speaker implemented instead of the 5 minute per speaker be implemented.
Is that what the one you're talking about?
Under public comment for Frank,
Wait a minute.
oh, sorry,
All right, you said too restrictive, and then you said up from there.
What
the
fell?
second line up, from the, no,
From the
from the
bottom.
bottom
Oh,
of the
Jesus, I
paragraph.
went
Oh, the
from the
board
correction.
felt- Oh, I did. The board felt
Yeah.
that possibly 5 minutes per speaker would be ample.
With a 5 minute, yeah, with 5 minutes per speaker implemented,
Actually, in
In
the
the-
motion.
yeah.
In the
Yeah,
motion.
in the motion.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
but
public
it's-
comment be moved to the front of the agenda with a 5
Minute,
With 5 minutes per.
with 5 minutes per speaker.
with 5 minutes.
Per speaker implemented.
So cross out A, add an S to
Well, and
minutes.
that-
Okay.
But if you read the rest of that line, it was withdrawn.
With a 5 minute.
No, not that
Would
one.
be ample after it's
With this
discussed.
one. Down here. With
There you
5
go.
minutes
That was
per,
down
yeah.
there.
Had a repeat. All right, Frank
You all set?
Campana, yep.
Over at the end, instead of covering coverage,
Talk about coverage.
Covering. We did some,
and then under correspondence, 1, 2, 3, the fourth line down, where it says 80s and early 90s,
Yeah,
where roads like this have been neglected over time, so just combine it. And then the next line, I think, is supposed to be, instead of couldn't. That he
Yes.
couldn't have replied back any
That's
better.
correct. Yep. Anything else on page
That's all
4?
I had.
Page 5.
I don't have anything.
Entertain a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes of March 26th as amended.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None.
John voted even though he wasn't here.
Look up.
Benji, can I say out there?
Oh, wow.
Well, I hear him out there in the
Oh.
hallway. I'm gonna get out of line here a little bit probably, but we gave Mark Phillips until April 1st to do our police cruisers.
We'd love to talk about that in correspondence.
Well, I wanted to catch him before he left.
He knows it.
He does? Okay.
We've talked about that.
What Selectman Osborne is referring to is the fact that we had signed a contract with a vendor in town for police cruiser maintenance, and that has expired. And now with all stars aligned, the highway department will do what they can as far as regular routine maintenance.
It's gonna be has some
Correct.
scheduling.
They'll
and-
be scheduling, there'll be speed bumps in the road, but we're gonna try and get that re-implemented, that the highway department do what they can to the town vehicles.
yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, and the manifest. I move to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payables checks dated April 12th, 2018, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest is $64,485.68 weekly, including bonus day payouts. Accounts payable manifest of $25,118.50, and a John Stark School District manifest of $250,000, for a total of $339,604.18. Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 5-0.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send, I have a no, intent to excavate,
Okay.
that I'm gonna send down the table, it has to be here, but, you're also going to, we're gonna have to discuss this is the, Tebow piece, and only just the top one, the bottom one is wrong with the map and lot number. You recall in a couple of our, sorry, I didn't mean to hop right in, but in a couple of our discussions of the cease and desist, they have been out, and done the surveying. I was reached out to today, and, they're going to be submitting an application for a gravel permit, which is what they were supposed to do. And I handed you all a cease and desist that was sent out. In there, you guys can, I'd like your clarification on a part of it. And part of it being the section that talks about who's going to make the observation and who's gonna make the clarification on behalf of the town. What I mean by that is it's been all staked out, and actually the gentleman came and got Chip to go look at the flags. But to actually, I wanted your determination because it talks about, the town staff or town-appointed representative will review the site to confirm the limits of the boundaries. I mean, I can go look at flags, but to determine your limits, you have to keep in mind the whole discussion is about a 29-acre piece. So you gotta have somebody that can, I'm not gonna, but you're gonna have to have somebody that can tell you that the flag section is 29, not 59. I'm not sure that Chip is that person, because I think the idea is, because of the sensitive nature, the 29 acres is a very important part of the puzzle. Because of the fact that it, if you remember right, it went way back to when Rocco Scelzi owned it.
Yeah.
And then that's what was permitted back in the 80s, was 29 acres. Anything beyond that's gonna take a zoning visit, because it's not allowed anymore in the RA, and it's gonna take some others. So for the determination to be made of this flagged boundary limit, I think is going to have to be somebody other than Chip or myself to go look at flags. So, well, my thought, I don't know how surveying works, but I'm thinking that in today's world, you probably can do some sort of GPS
Well, the
and then
surveyors do
do
that.
some figuring as to what this circle gets you. I don't know.
Survey will do a single station GPS. They'll go from point to point.
So they're gonna
And they will
verify the
tell you-
points on a map,
and they will
but
tell
then
you that
somebody's
it's
gotta
from-
be able to figure the area in some program.
They'll tell
Oh,
you
you
that.
can do that.
Surveyor
You
will
can
do
figure
that.
the area out.
But if there's flags every so many feet, you'd have to.
They'll be able to tell you that.
So I'm just saying, I mean, Chip has been out, but at the same time, before, I mean, they're gonna drop off the application to have a hearing. At the same time, I'd like to be honest and upfront. If you think it's Chip that's gonna make your determination, that's fine. Or if you think somebody more qualified needs to verify the boundary stakings and calculate the boundaries, then you have, I mean, I think we should be upfront with him. Instead of plunking it on him when he gets here 2 weeks after you post the public hearing.
Shouldn't he be responsible?
Right,
He'd be
that's-
responsible for the cost.
Right,
That's how we, I mean, anytime you put in a subdivision, back in my subdivision, there always was, you know, there's an engineering escrow account that pays for somebody else to oversee the inspections. Even though you've done it to your milestones, you still have somebody that verifies it, signs off before you can move to the next step. So, you can wait and sign that, that doesn't bother me, because there is no permit. That came today.
Yeah.
That bottom one's got the wrong map and lot number on it.
Or you
So let me, I
hold on
can
it
hold
till-
on to that till we
till
do
we get the
that.
right
That's fine.
information. I think.
Yeah. Cause there really is, there's no permit being issued here. But I just, you know, I just think it needs to be upfront instead of 2 weeks from now when they want to. I mean, we have a gentleman, we used for the engineering that verifies surveyors and boundary marks. The planning board uses him. I could have him give me a price, and then I can get the engineering money for verification, because I'm not gonna do it until, like we always do. If that's the route the board wants to go, I think because of the sensitive nature and the importance of the 29 acres, I mean, I would be remiss in not telling you, even though it did say town, but it did say town or
Representative.
appointed representative. So,
How does the board feel?
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I believe so too.
okay, I can let him
That way
know.
there's no
Well, it's an
mistake on either party's side.
Right. Having that third party vendor come in and.
Okay.
Now,
Alright.
is this in any of the gravel permit applications, or is it,
What do you mean?
well,
This step,
Is-
you mean?
yeah, or in any of our ordinances that we have, or,
So covered by
Any of
state
the-
law.
I don't know what,
well, is it a requirement
To have it surveyed.
to have it surveyed? Is
In
it
A&M.
somewhere that we haven't? I mean, how do all the other gravel pits have?
they're grandfathered. He's not, he's the only one
Okay,
that's
grandfathered
this one
from what?
grandfathered from regulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one lapsed though.
They've been way back.
Okay.
So
They-
this one's.
They've been
There is a
deemed grandfathered.
regulation then.
Yeah,
No.
they've been
Okay.
deemed grandfathered back in, I don't remember the years, but back years ago, there was great lengths worked on by, at that time, there was 5.
Mhm.
There was Burt, Eldon, Mount William, Elmerschmid, and the Tebow property.
Okay.
Actually, there was 6, and then Wakefield Materials, which is Rocco Shelsey.
Okay.
Tebow bought Wakefield, so and he no longer does his, so is his, and then Elmer Schmidt's now belongs to us. So the only one that has the not a grandfathered status is the Tebow property,
Okay.
or the former Wakefield property.
And when did that go into effect, grandfather?
Well, there was a determination, I'd have to pull you all the minutes, you had to make some stipulation and standards, and the night he was here, he indicated that he knows he's not grandfathered.
Oh,
That's on the record, that he knows that's not grandfathered, so he
Okay.
knows there's regulations to follow. But I'm just saying, this is so, there was a determination, or there was some just back and forth about the 29 acres, because zoning doesn't allow the gravel on the rural ag. And this, we went down a road of being abandoned. At the same time, his attorney and our attorney worked out this solution that you guys saw. And the 29 acres is very vital to the whole solution, because that's the whole thing that shows all the way back when Rocco owned it. So Rocco was the one who came in originally for the permit, and then it went to aggregate, and then aggregate to Wakefield, and
No,
Wakefield
it
to
was
aggregate,
Wakefield.
aggregate to Tebow,
Wakefield to
yeah.
Rocco, because Wakefield was.
No, Rocco was the first one in '86. Oh, Coastal, it was Coastal.
Yeah,
It was,
it
yeah.
was J.J. Cronin.
Yeah.
And it went to-
So there's a
to
vital
Rocco.
part of the 29 acres that is important,
Okay.
that, and I'll be honest with you, years ago, it used to be, you see these intent cuts, and then intent to excavate, and then you see the reports.
Mhm.
What used to happen is every October, the selectmen would go view them every year, and it had to show you what changed from one year to the other. That hasn't been done in, I can't tell you how long, probably since Craig Nichols wasn't here. He did the last group with the board. And so, you're getting taxed on an estimate of material that's moved, but without going to physically see that the hump is no longer, you know what I mean? It's kind of a honor system, I don't know, I think we should start
I was-
going back to all of them and visit.
Right.
I'm not saying there's
How
any
many?
one,
Yeah,
there's
because
four,
what are
there's
they-
4.
What do they tax them per?
It's
per
per
yard?
yard moved.
For, yeah,
Right.
moved up
So what
per
are
ton,
they-
I guess.
It's 2 cents a yard that's moved. So they tell you they've moved
100 ton?
100,000 yards, 300,000 yards,
Yeah.
500,000 yards, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or, I think you see one last week that was like 7,800 yards. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying, maybe that's all everybody's moved, but there's no
Way of
check
keeping
and
track of it.
balance if you don't go look at it year after year.
Right.
So whether I speak to Avatar about doing that in October, you know, because they're out there all the time, where Craig Nichols used to be, Avatar is now the old Craig Nichols. It would just be a way of seeing what is open, you know, and what's been mined and what's still to be mined, you know.
I'd like to be home after.
Yeah, I think that we should be doing it if that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, you usually made an appointment, and honestly, everybody, they took you around. You know, I posted
Yeah.
a meeting, but it was typically sometime in the afternoon or during the day, somebody, you know, you could all go and meet. I'd have to just make sure that it was agreeable and the owner would take you around.
So if it hasn't been done for like 10+ years or more, how the hell are you gonna figure out how much they'd actually?
Well-
They had to file one of those every year.
Yeah,
Stay on
yeah, but it's still, I
It's
mean,
pretty difficult.
it
It's not
is.
like it's
Yeah.
done
To
in a
nail it year to year, right?
Yeah.
You go this year, and then next year, you
Yeah,
look at it this
measure.
year, and then next year,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gone.
and I'm not sure where
Well,
that
the
fell,
bank-
that
the bank
wasn't
was
even
here,
done
now
when I
it's
first
back
started. When I
50
took over
feet
here,
over.
no, you guys, nobody was doing that. You know,
Most
it was
towns
when I
don't.
was downstairs, most towns don't.
Yeah, I guess.
But I'm just saying, we used to in every fall, and maybe it's something we get back to.
I'd like to. So where are we at with this particular one?
Well, seeing that it's part of the regulation and he knows he has to comply with that, I don't have a problem.
Well, I think
with
that it's
having-
not that he knows he doesn't, it's not that he doesn't comply. He thought, that Chip would be the
Designate.
town staff. He didn't read or A, because that's up to you guys to determine as the regulators.
Yeah.
But you know who all the abutters are to this 29 acres.
Well, the parcel's 214 acres.
So it's only
Oh, he's only
29.
taken, using
Only
29.
29,
Right,
right.
right,
So
right.
out of the
That's the other side.
214, is the
Okay.
importance being, if you go to 69 acres, only
Exactly
what's,
where that 29 acres is located.
It's boundaried.
right, we need to know that it's 29 and not
What is it?
And
39.
39.
or 129.
Is,
So that's
Well,
the
the
importance,
butters
there
are
is a
so-
vital importance to the 29, because it
Right.
goes back to an old
Right.
plan.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it is my understanding that you want to notify that it'll be an outside third party that's gonna verify
Yep.
it.
yeah,
That's
And I'll
wrong.
get a cost from our outside person, let him know the cost, and go from there.
Right.
That's correct.
Sounds good.
And then get back on the fall schedule of bus trip,
Yeah.
fall trips.
Lunch provided on that, or?
Bring your own, bring your own.
Oh, come on now, we at least go to the sub at Subway.
Buy two, get one free.
there you go.
I'll have the free one.
Every other department gets them.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, we're getting out of hand.
get that in.
Where is my,
That was good.
all right. So, Sherry had called me about ServPro. I've tried twice. He claims he's emailed me twice. I've gone back to my spam. I don't know where it goes. I'm gonna ask for him to fax it to me.
Yeah.
I can't, I've looked through all my delete, my spam, so I don't have it. JP Pest came. I think there's something in my inbox, but I didn't have a chance to do that. Basically, we came and looked around, and there's a program that the safety complex has that he comes quarterly. But that's a newer building, but when we did go into that area out there, there was a mouse.
Dead.
Sorry, he was dead. He'd been there for a little while. And opened up the door. So they're getting in, but the holes are like this big. The neighbor's cat can come through the door down there. I mean, really, and stay.
Decon down.
Yeah. I think he's over the hurdle, though. I think the smell's not going.
Well, I just keep decon down so they'll go out
Yeah.
for water. There's no water source in there.
So, I mean, I'll show you what he sent me.
I don't
I
wanna
mean,
see it, the mouse. I
oh,
don't
no,
wanna see it.
no.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send the JP Pest to you guys. Just, and
Okay.
we can look through it. I might be, because they'll move out and they'll move back in.
Yeah, warm weather they'll go out,
Yeah.
cold weather.
Today they probably would have moved out because we got here to no heat.
Oh.
It was 58 in here this
Did you run
morning.
out of fuel?
We did.
I mean, I don't
Medical
get that. It's happened quite a few different
I can
times.
tell you, I'll explain why. And we don't know how big the tank is. We can't, the tank was done, Ray Eaton doesn't remember when it was put in. It was probably put in when he went to school here, but
Is it one tank or is it?
They have it says 1,000 gallons, but they can't put a whistle on it. They can't do a lot of things. I've asked for it. So what we did is the highway came over with 25 gallons and they bled it and it was dry. So then they got it going for us and then they came. The most they ever deliver is 400 gallons. So I don't know if I have a 1,000-gallon tank. I don't know if I got a 500-gallon tank or if I just got the remnants of the end of a truck.
Can they just fill it?
But we don't know.
He doesn't
what
know if
happens
it's a
Without a
1,000-gallon
whistle, so
tank.
it'll
without a
blow out.
whistle.
Yeah. You know,
So-
hazmat.
I've had this discussion because if you recall, it constantly happened at the town hall.
Yeah.
And when it happened at the town hall, we had them out to do this survey to see if we can put a whistle in. And the same thing happened. There was no record of where, how long it's been put in, how big of a tank.
What about?
So I thought so. So what we did at the town hall is, you remember, we swapped. We left the old tank. We pumped out whatever they pumped out and gave us credit for whatever was in there, and we put propane. But we just let the old system. We didn't dig it up. We didn't do anything. We went to propane at the town hall because the permitting and everything else to try to dig up where it was or disturb it. And what if, God forbid, it's been leaking? You know what I mean? Then you have a bigger problem. So the thought was, what about doing something
Like-
inside downstairs that would have the state of the art? I talked to the fire chief today. Is the state of the art meaning a gauge, a whistle, you know what I mean? A place there, and combine it with the back part of this building and put it inside somewhere so that we don't have this problem. This is, we usually do one time a year. It's usually at the beginning of the year because we don't know what was left in there. The same thing, but this year it happened. They had it come since February 8th, so I knew we were out. It's been 2 months.
Why aren't they coming once a month?
I asked that. I said, I'm on automatic delivery. Does that stop April 1st? I mean, I don't know. I don't have automatic delivery at home, so she couldn't understand why we didn't get it either. But they were here today, like after a few minutes after Benji got us
They
going.
don't give you a service charge.
What
No.
about the sticks that they use when they deliver gas? They have a stick that tells how many gallons?
The only thing they can go, they tried to stick it, but it goes down and it bends.
It what?
Oh,
Goes down, it bends.
Oh, it bends on.
So unless I had a rubber one.
So that means the fill isn't on top of the tank.
No,
It's
it's on the
side.
side.
Yeah,
in the-
see,
Well,
that's
it's a
kind of
very-
weird.
Yeah, the only other
It's a buried tank.
alternative.
where
I felt-
approximately is the tank? Do we know?
I'm surprised it's still in the ground this long, because it rotted out.
Yeah, me too.
That's one of those ones.
I don't remember when it got.
So I'm just wondering if that might be
Fill the
another
sand.
project that we look at in closing in the, I don't know why they call that the doghouse. I never figured that out. but
Well,
there's a space out there. So there's that, and then there's an old room down here that's empty, but I don't think you're gonna fit a 275 in either place, so.
You have to put more than one tank, probably.
Well, you can put two 275s together,
Yeah, so
but you gotta have
yeah, so
containment.
You gotta contain.
You gotta have some sort of
500
containment.
containment, at least,
Yeah,
yeah.
you gotta have containment. So it's a project, but at the same time, I don't know that we wanna be digging up looking for another problem,
Right,
you know?
right. I would rather just put the tanks in and
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
pumped
that one
out the
color
old
different.
one and they gave us credit for whatever we pumped out of there. We pumped till it was dry, so.
Right.
And just left it, and that's why we went, because we weren't sure over there either.
Mhm.
But I think that's another project to add to my list.
Yep.
Is
I would
the,
agree.
Wait till
Yeah.
spring.
I did add
Wait
the
till
storm
summer.
windows so we didn't forget it at Clinton Grove.
you want, oh,
The
yeah.
storm, and then I didn't get a chance, Mark Reed, I don't have a phone number if somebody wanted
I've got it,
not to
Yeah, I
share it
do,
on air,
yeah.
but yeah.
yeah.
I've got it.
Okay.
at home. I see
And then
it all.
Tim, I just left a message briefly, but it was tonight. One of those to remember to do. About the reglazing.
Well,
And then I did share with you too the bell tower.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking on the bell tower, I think we talked about it last week, was adding, I like to place one ad so that I pay for one ad. So if I could do like the bell tower and have them separate bids. So like the bell tower and then the rot and then honestly the electrical and then the plumbing. I just want to do one ad
one ad with
for the
different
entire.
sections.
Well, we're not doing electrical over there.
No. I want
Oh,
a
you
bell
want
tower.
bids.
This is the specifications for bid number, whatever, for the bell
bid
tower.
number one,
Bid number two is gonna be to bid on just the
Rot repair.
rot in the
Rot
repair.
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 On the rake.
Bid number 3 would be, the
Looking
town's
for-
looking for a plumbing per hour rate. Number 4 would be an electrical per hour rate for town office buildings. So there'd be 4 bids, not looking for
Just one
one.
ad.
But if I'm
One
gonna
ad.
run one ad in the paper, I don't wanna run
Four.
the town of Weare is looking for, and
Right.
on the very bottom, it just, the ad would be forever.
Mhm.
Meaning, I mean, you pay by the inch, so I can do 4 ads, but it's expensive. If I could just do one and go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the best way.
Board have any problem with that?
No.
Okay.
Not a problem, one.
I have a question though, Sherry, and maybe you can help me. How do I go about looking to do a furnace in this building, or what do I,
In this building,
yeah,
Switch it,
a new furnace?
not a furnace, an oil barrel, oil tank.
call your oil supply.
Oh, yeah, oil.
Okay,
Supplier,
right.
yeah.
You can tell I don't do that.
They usually do. Who's the oil, who
We use Irving.
you gonna use propane or you gonna use oil?
Well,
You have to use
we've
oil.
always used oil.
So yeah, call
Yeah.
Irving and they'll,
Mhm.
Okay, and I just asked them to come out.
yeah, ask them if they want to.
Do you know approximately how old the boiler is here? In this
I
building?
can look, it's
Probably
probably,
dated, probably a date somewhere.
Should have.
yeah, there's gotta be something downstairs.
15, 10?
I'd be guessing, I really don't know.
Serviced.
Oh, no, we had it serviced. We had it serviced.
Okay, I'll go,
Yeah,
I'll
wood
go that.
stove.
I'll go with that.
Who does this service, Irving? Or-
Yeah, they came and did the service before we started it.
Okay.
I don't know how old, I could find out. I know it was
Should
done,
be on the slip. They mark it every time they service it. They tell you. how
no,
many.
when it was originally put
No,
in,
they
is
put
that what
the-
you asked?
They'll put the year and the date that it was made, and then they'll tell you there should be.
But it was
an
done-
installation.
it was
There should
done
be
before
information
I-
of the boiler on that tag as well.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm just thinking if it's got some serious age to it, then
It,
maybe we ought to consider trying to, consider getting options for propane versus oil.
I don't know how old it was. I think Claude Tremblay installed it. I think that's the right one.
Okay.
I mean, I just would have to do some research on
I mean,
that.
I'd hate to put a complete oil system in and then have the thing,
Yep.
crap out. And
Mm-hmm.
next thing they say, well, because it's oil, it costs more. I don't know. Just thinking,
They're about to say.
probably.
Well, that list is getting longer.
Of course. I wanted to get shorter, but it's getting longer. But that's
No,
okay.
I'm gonna add the bell tower now too,
Okay.
to it.
Yeah, and I've got a call in to Tom, I
Okay.
didn't catch that, I didn't get anything from him.
He's hard to,
Well, it's hard to catch him, but we might get him sooner now than trying to wait another couple
Okay.
weeks, so
okay.
hopefully if he gets back to me. Because I had shown him the stuff at Clinton Grove, the underpinning, that was all rotted.
Yep.
And I'd also talked to him about
The
the
windows.
stone windows, because we have the pins that hold the blind. And I said to him, if we ordered the right, the right size
Mhm.
stone window, so it came out and sat right, you could just take a tool and groove it in and not have to pull all those pins out and change all, I don't wanna have to pull the pins and change all the blinds. up
Yep.
there.
So he'll look at all those things for you while he's here, if you can get him?
Yeah, if I
Oh,
can get
good.
him, yeah, and then let him look at that rot while he's here too, on that rake, cause I'm gonna bring a scraper up, I'm just gonna scrape a couple places on those corner boards, cause when I looked at them, the corner boards didn't look rotten.
Okay.
Obviously, I know the rake's got a big rotten spot in it, coming down the roof line there,
Okay.
but, yeah. And I don't know if he can really give us a true estimate, because when you get into rot,
Well, that's
Well,
kind
he
of what I
says-
think
I
John
think
was
it's
like,
gonna be
the
an hourly
hourly rate.
By the hour.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
And see what you
materialize
can, right, an hourly, and yeah,
Couple
Yeah.
$100 an hour and,
and see how much, yeah.
Right.
I figured the rock would come out of the building hall. Money.
There's still money in the Mildred Hall, yeah,
Mhm.
About 16,000.
yeah.
yeah,
And then anything more or
yeah.
Well, if we chew
Come out
that
of
up
government.
quick.
Yeah, I mean, they could, well,
Right.
they're though, if the corner boards are all right, which I think they are, they
Yeah.
could scrape them, sand
paint
them,
'em.
and prime them and paint them,
Absolutely.
and have that all done, so it looks
absolutely.
neat over there,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
or neater than it has. The other thing on that quote, I was looking at it, the spires aren't listed on that. Was that a mistake?
Probably.
Because we talked about the spires that
Okay.
day, and we talked about putting a little fence up around on both
Right.
levels.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's, I didn't see it written in the spec.
Yeah,
so
it was a mistake then,
it was a
because,
mistake,
yeah,
Because we
yeah.
went through all that, yeah.
okay. But you're gonna speak with him
Yeah,
anyway?
I'll try to,
Okay.
try to help, hopefully he'll call me back. If he doesn't call me back in the next day or so, I'll call him again.
Okay. Purchasing policy we did, and then we'll finalize and sign next week. We had a lot of discussion about the noise ordinance. What are we gonna do with that? I mean, after all the discussion, I don't think we ever came up with a plan last week.
Right. What does the board want to do?
Well, what happened with it when you had the noise ordinance committee before?
The subcommittee, I believe, gave a verbal, because we inquired about
I
it.
think what we should do is pull, I think I could ask Mary if she'd pull the minutes or the
See
subcommittee.
what- yeah.
The subcommittee noise people had their own minutes. But there was also, then there was discussion back here about a survey that was done and things like
Right.
that.
We did a survey.
So I think
polls,
before,
And we
I
don't,
don't think that got anything. I think they had 6 people or something. I
Well,
was over there that night when they mentioned
they
that.
started all day, because I was at the polls
it was
all
at the
day.
polls.
Right.
And the numbers that they came up with,
And I have those
it
handwritten,
doesn't, yeah,
tally
they couldn't
sheets.
keep they didn't have, the tally seemed to change, so I don't know if we got an accurate count.
I mean, all I could do is give you the background and we could have a better discussion.
Yeah, I think so.
but
Yeah,
I
I
don't,
think that's
I
what we
don't
have to do.
remember any other, most of it I don't know.
Okay. Beth, Beth gives you printouts, the financial. The hawkers and peddlers, you said you'd do on April 30th with the
Yep.
chief. I just want to let you know that April 30th, I've already scheduled a non-public with him as well, which I can later inform you of I want to have a non-public at the end of the evening anyway, so I could
Okay.
fill you in on that.
Okay.
Custodian, when Ricky and I did the agenda last week, we kind of set out on picking dates of our own. So what we'd like to do next week is you have the non-public for the resident that wants to come back in. She's going to come back in that day. And then we thought we would dedicate the default budget discussion and try to finalize the custodian position at the same time, because it does require both. I don't know where you want to start with it. Do you want, do you want Beth here? How do you want to proceed?
Oh, yeah.
What
I
is
think-
your?
I think she should be here, yeah. And I
Alright,
think we
so-
should talk about the default budget and
Yeah.
then basically
Yep.
figure out where we end up for this position.
Yeah, because, and she's going to be a huge discussion, because her and she started a separate spreadsheet on other things. This line to that line, because you got to leave them alone. So I think that needs, I'll have Beth, that's going to be next week. Then the following week, because I didn't do, Ricky and I talked about not doing it both days, was doing the tax deeded for the auction on the following week.
Okay.
So we've at least narrowed down that, and then,
I'll give you the spreadsheet next week.
okay,
Okay.
so, and Jack is not here on the 23rd, school vacation week. Is everybody else going to be here? Okay. He knows about the discussion. I mean, he knows what's on the agenda, but, so, with that, and how would you like me to proceed? Oh, and in your mail, I just handed you, this is that fax about the tax deeded that you can study to for the 23rd. How would you like me to proceed with, an outreach program by calling people on Article 27? I mean, what she gave me was a spreadsheet that gave some business people kind of like who to contact, but then there's a list of some service organizations, and there's a list of, demographics as far as young, people with children, people without children, middle-aged, senior, male, female. I'm not sure how you want me to attack this.
Well, I think she brought up a good point of that, the library paper. That gets circulated around. Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of discussion about, reading that. So I think that would be a good.
Yeah, this
avenue.
this is what she was for organizations, but
Probably can post something here and there.
yeah,
at
I mean,
the
there's,
post
and
office.
she's right, there's not a lot of people that have cable.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there's not a lot of people, that view our website.
Yeah.
I can put it in the red of the website, and
Yeah.
see, but unless you actually formally reach out to some people, you don't get the,
If
I
you-
can do some outreach, but,
If you put something together, Naomi, and can get it, just email it to me by Wednesday, which I know is, I only got tomorrow, but if you can put a little blurb together about what you're looking for, I've gotta be over at the church Wednesday at around noon time, so I can take it over.
Can you
and
stop
post it.
here? I'm not here tomorrow. Could you stop here and make myself a note to make you a blurb?
Yeah.
Could you stop here and then post it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you email it to me, I'll just print
Print
it
it in the
at my
morning?
house
Okay.
and take it with me,
Okay.
yeah.
When is the next newsletter
I don't.
for the Historical Society?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now,
Okay.
So how about we do something there?
yeah, we could probably do something.
Put something in there.
If there's room, when I get done
Yeah, I was
putting
gonna
it
say.
together, if there's
Yeah.
room.
Right,
that's
because
what-
that has, it doesn't just have old people on it.
Oh no,
I mean,
we're
it's just the
members.
directors maybe.
Right, but I
Yeah.
can
But,
put a blurb in there.
There's
if
a
we
lot
can
of
put
people,
one in there.
younger people that belong.
I mean, just like a couple organizations on that list I'm part of. I could reach
Mhm.
out.
Yeah, right,
Yep.
right.
But I mean, today's a busy world, and there's people.
And I think that's what we're going to
I
end
mean,
up
it
facing,
just goes-
unfortunately, is the fact that society is busy, and you just reflect on our other committees that don't have full staffing or
Oh.
are defunct because of no staffing.
Yeah.
I look at the election, and John Foss had a clipboard and a sign, looking for volunteers.
For the
and-
finance committee.
And he got, and other committees, and they got
Yeah.
2 people total that signed up.
Right.
Wow,
That's all.
over 1,000 people coming through. or
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think what happens though, and it's not that they're, it's gotta fit the schedule.
Mhm.
If
Right.
you've got kids running in 3 different directions,
Well, if you
and
got children, it's hard.
it
because
is
you're-
hard to volunteer.
Right.
That's all I had, and then I'm not here on Tuesday and Thursday.
I got
And at the
a
end.
thing
Yep.
on this. We don't have that hazardous mediation thing on it, and I don't know if every.
Oh, mitigation, yeah.
Mitigation, yeah, I don't think that we've, all read that, and probably everyone should need to look it over to make sure.
Yeah, I thought that you guys were gonna mark
We're,
a couple
we're
up.
gonna mark up one
Okay.
copy, but I'm just thinking if everyone can read through it. You may see something that we've missed,
Mhm.
you know?
All right, so if we can read through it, because we're gonna be,
Keep that together and.
I know there's been not a big rush, but at the same time, I don't want to lose out on this grant.
Correct.
If,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is April, so our concern was that we thought it was April 1st.
I can type it in, back in, in red, what you emailed me, and send that back to you with what I have, but
Okay.
I'm just thinking if you.
Yeah, save it like revision 1 or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Or revision SB, so I know it's you know what I mean, your initials. And then if anybody else has any, just throw it out my direction or whatever. I can
Yes,
give them
so-
to make one.
Make one up,
Yeah.
yeah, just have one, yeah, so I'll do that. And like I said, I read it all in one morning, like 4.5 hours of it, I sat there,
Crazy.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, you can.
It's a lot of
No, I
coffee.
know.
This is a lot of coffee.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
just read a
doing.
couple of them.
Together.
So that's all I would have, other than I would like non-public at the end.
Any correspondence? We'll start with correspondence first.
Will be our thing.
I do have one. I received an email from another resident, that had reached out, I believe, to Selectman Burdick about some cemetery watering capabilities.
Yeah, she didn't answer me after I sent her some information.
Okay. And that's just, I read what you responded.
Watering as far as,
As far as giving a means to water at the Pine Grove.
Pine Grove, what she wants to do, I think, is put in a lawn over there,
Mhm.
but it's a gravel bank or sand bank
I
underneath
say,
it,
there's always been pine
So-
trees.
in pine.
Yeah.
So I said to her, without digging it down a foot,
Mm.
putting clay in, and then putting in 6 or 8 inches of loam, you're not, and having it watered
Nothing's
2 or
gonna
3
grow.
times a week, nothing's gonna stay green over there.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, there's no water source. I mean, you can't, she said, well, we can put a pump in the brook. You can't do that.
No.
Because you
DES
go
won't,
across
yeah.
people's property,
Yeah.
there's no electricity.
No?
Mm-hmm.
And if you put a tank in, she's talking about the fire department filling
Filling
the
it.
tank up with water. Well, that's not their responsibility.
No.
But then on top of it, you would have to have probably electricity to have a small pump in it to pump the
Right.
water out. Either that, or you have an old hand pump on it.
Yeah.
And if you do it for one cemetery,
You
Mm,
really
that's
gotta
what
do
I
you've
it
got to
wondered.
do it for all the cemeteries.
And
And if
there's
you put it on-
43 of them according to your,
And if you put an artesian well in, and to take care of those three over there, East Weare, Center
Johnson.
Square, and Pine Grove,
Okay.
and put the piping in that you would need,
Thousands of dollars.
yeah, I mean, we're not even talking putting it down 4 feet below the frost line, the piping, if you just put it down 6, 8 inches, or like you would do a lawn for watering,
Sprinkle.
somebody's gotta blow those lines all out in the fall, because they're
Which
all
is
gonna
exactly
freeze
what
and split.
happens with
Yeah.
Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec, you pay to have somebody come in and winterize the system
Yeah.
at all the fields.
Yeah,
Which, I say all the fields, I think there's just Purington and Bolton.
but I said to her, it's a lot of money,
We
and
don't know what
then
it's,
she was, yeah, she mentioned something about having it,
Petition?
no, well, she mentioned about, I just saw that on I just saw that on Facebook here a couple days ago, but she talked about, I said, putting an artesian well in, I said, you would have to have a lot of money to do this, all of this. And then she talked about going to the, like, different trust funds and stuff, and I said, I don't think that trust funds are gonna do something like that, because they would have to, you have to say you're opening up a big can
Yeah.
of worms here, you got
Oh, yeah.
40-something cemeteries. You're gonna, if you do it for one, you're
You
gonna
gotta
do it for all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Pine Grove, like I said, all of those
It's all-
cemeteries there, that's just sand and gravel there.
Mhm.
The water just goes through, that's why you don't have any green area there in the summer months, it just burns up.
Mhm.
By July, 1st of July, stuff's burning,
Mhm.
you know, so, you know, I know I saw it on Facebook, they got a petition out there for people to sign stuff, but,
It's fine.
yeah, I mean,
That's
it's,
their right.
you know, but I left her a message on her phone and she's not called me back, so.
I just, that's just interesting,
Yeah.
okay.
So, just that's the only correspondence that I received. I just wanted to share with the board, that's all.
I'd kind of forgotten because I was waiting for her to call me
Call you
back,
back,
but
okay.
she, no, I guess isn't gonna do that. You know who that is?
Yep.
Yep.
You know who it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do Facebook, so,
Um,
you,
I
it
can
doesn't
tell you
matter, it doesn't
afterwards.
matter, yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
afterwards, I don't wanna publicize
No,
it.
Mhm.
no. Any other business? And I move to go into non-public, RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, C?
C.
C. There a second? Move seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we will be adjourning after we come